Hey guys, welcome to today's analysis, which is Tuesday. It's October 2nd, and today we had some odd news, which definitely had a huge effect on the odd dollar. If you remember, just yesterday in the analysis, we talked about several pairs and kind of the expectation for them to break out sooner or later. And obviously, a lot of the odd pairs today made some decisive moves. You can see the odd dollar right in front of us broke to the downside quite significantly. And we can see odd weakness across the board. So we're going to get into some of those. I'm going to share with you what I'm expecting as far as continuation or pullbacks on those, and we're going to look at a few other pairs as well. Before we get into that, we're going to check our news for tomorrow, so we're prepared for that. Okay, so here's the news. You can see that tomorrow we have quite a few red tagged. We have pound red tagged, $2 newsmints. Of course, one is a non-farms unemployment, or non-farm employment change, I should say. So that'll be a big one. And then more odd news at 9:30. So lots of red tags going on tomorrow. Keep an eye on all of these, and also keep in mind that there's a German bank holiday in the Eurozone. Okay, so that's the news for tomorrow. Definitely some factors there as far as affecting the market. Okay, guys, before we get into this, we also need to take a quick look at our terms. Alright, so these are the terms. Basically, all they say is that we're not licensed or qualified to provide investment advice. This is purely for educational purposes. It's just something that we do to share our views. It's not a way of us telling you what to do with your money. Okay, so that's important because the government is very strict about what we can and cannot do. So if you needed to pause that and read these terms, go ahead and do that. I'm going to get into the analysis now. And so again, the first thing we're looking at here is the odd. And if you remember yesterday, we did talk about how there's an uptrend right here conflicting with a recent steep downtrend, and we were at a point where those were going to clash. And you can see that today made its move. Obviously, a very strong breakout to the downside on the odd dollar. So odd moved quite a bit down, far exceeded the trend line that was building on the way up here since basically the end of May. And now it's breaking down. Now, of course, the question is this going to continue to the downside, or is it going to be a fake out and actually go right back up to our long trend line, which we have here? And so my expectation as far as odd is that it makes sense for it to continue down. And the reason why is because the dollar has been relatively medium. It's been pretty much neutral. And since there's pretty bad news for the odd right now, I don't see a reason why that would not follow through, unless there's some large change in the dollar. Now, with that said, there are some major resistance levels. You can see that this one, of course, which is the next low, is a big one. Also, right here, which we're only a few pips away, could play as a factor. You can see that there's a little zone here based on some of these points. So there are definitely some major levels that are going to try to support this, hold this up above, the 1017 level in there. And for odd to continue, it is going to have to fight through some of those levels. But of course, anytime a trade is moving in one direction, it has to fight through levels. So that's nothing new. Anytime we make a trade, we got to expect to fight with certain levels, and that's what I expect with odd. However, barring something different happening with the U.S. dollar, I would think that the odd is at least going to continue and make a little bit lower low here, rather than just reverting right away back to the upside. So that's my expectation with odd. Let's take a look at a different odd pair for a second and kind of compare. So here we have the euro odd compared to the odd dollar, and you can see that unlike the odd dollar, it hasn't been as choppy, getting into this level. This is actually coming off a pretty good move to the upside. So euro odd presents a very nice movement of trend continuation. You can see that it did eclipse this high here. Looks like it'll close above that with no problem, and looks to be continuing with a small pullback this uptrend. So to me, this is a great signal for the euro odd. Now again, there's going to be some levels. You can see that in here is a level. Right here where it's at right now could be a level. Also, it's not much farther than this high. Then you'll get up to here. So there's going to be levels the whole way up, of course, on any trade that you take. But it looks like the euro odd is set up to continue the upward trend very nicely, and that's going to be one that I'm certainly looking at. Okay, let's take a look at some non-Australian dollar pairs. And the first one we have here is the euro dollar, which we talk about a lot. And notice that we're still struggling right inside this 50 Fibonacci area. As I mentioned yesterday, we haven't got a close above the 38 or below the 50 in several days. And today we're close to that 38 level, but it's starting to retreat. And it's going to be interesting to see if it does in fact close below that level. So that's one that we'll keep an eye on. As far as the euro dollar is concerned, I would like to see it close above one of these levels, and an authoritative close at that, to kind of convince me that this thing is going to move in a certain direction. Because right now there is no direction; it's just tails kind of hopping back and forth in between this area and not really making a move. So the odd dollar we did get a breakout on, the euro dollar not really. So that's one we're going to have to wait a little longer, obviously, before we see a strong sign of movement there. So pound dollar is another pair, obviously somewhat similar to euro dollar, except for this is actually showing a little more direction with the recent downward movement. So we have a nice tail looking here. It's trying to push price back down. As far as how much success it's going to have in pushing price down, I really don't know, but it is looking like a bullish flag type of setup. However, we haven't really got any kind of bullish movement. So what may be happening here is that this just needs to exhaust the bearish movement and then make a break upward, which is a very good possibility, especially if the dollar remains kind of neutral or weak and the pound gains back some of the strength that it was riding on the way up. So that's a possibility. It's kind of one of those situations where it's a possibility for this thing to really rally up and hit higher prices, or for it to continue a reversal and head back down towards 158 area. Both of those are very much in play right now, but it's going to depend on where it makes a move. So, for instance, if we draw a fib level here from the recent low to high, we're not even at the 38.2 level. So there's a good chance that it could bounce or get to one of these levels and bounce up. Whether it's going to reverse and go all the way back down, that's pretty difficult to tell, because if it breaks down below her, then you're saying, okay, but there's the 50 level. If it breaks below that, then you're saying, okay, it's overextended to the downside now. It needs to move back up. Reversals are very difficult to trade because there's nothing to gauge them on as far as how long it'll turn. As far as trend continuation setups, those are a lot easier to trade in my opinion, because you already have some momentum behind it. There's a small pullback, and then it's looking to pick up the previous momentum, which to me is a higher probability, easier to trade setup, which is why I prefer trend continuation above other setups. So maybe we will get a nice bounce off 38.2, and to me that will provide a much better signal than just crashing below, because if it crashes right below 38.2, then you're just worrying about more levels. Okay, so that's my basic analysis on pound dollar. Nothing yet that's given me a signal, but a bounce off the 38.2 level would certainly provide me with some bullish confidence there. Okay, a pair that we haven't looked at in a little while is the USDCAD, and it's kind of catching my attention because the rally off this lower trend line is actually continuing pretty nicely. To be honest, this kind of fake breakthrough here and this push up, I expected to be just kind of a fake back into the trend line to get people out and then crash right below, which is obviously not what happened. So the USD CAD is definitely making a pretty good rally back to the upside. If it gets up to this top trend line, there's going to be some nice short opportunities. So definitely keep an eye on this one. That could provide us with some great trades. I haven't looked at USD CAD in a while because in the middle of this area here, I don't think there's a lot of good setups. But if it gets up here, we got some great setups headed back down. So keep an eye on that one. And another pair that we don't look at too much is the US yen, because it's so frustrating to me. And you can see I've had this channel drawn for quite some time, basically since the middle of July, and every time it looks like it's going to break out, it comes right back in. Two examples here. So the US yen is just staying right between like 77.5 and 79, not really making any kind of movement, no momentum. So this is one that I'm just not trading, and it's as simple as that. The pound yen, however, looks to have some potential. You can see that it's still honoring this trend line. It stayed up above this level. It's trying to push up, but the pound is not, quite strong enough to really let it rally up. So still has potential. Still could be bouncing off this trend line. That's one that you have to be patient with if you're long on that. But to me, I think this still has potential. I'm going to be holding on to this potential here and hope that it does rally up and maybe come back to test this trend line. So keep an eye on pound yen as well. The euro pound's another one I think has pretty good potential. Looking like a very consistent trend right now, as you can see. Bouncing off the trend line plus the previous support. So to me, euro pound is trading very technically bullish. Technicals don't always work, obviously, or else everyone would be rich. But it is looking very technically sound for bullish movement. So I'm expecting more follow through to the upside, and of course a higher high, because that's what trends are supposed to do. So that's my expectation on euro pound. This is the last pair I'll leave you with today. I think that there's some long-term potential here beyond just a higher high. If it makes a higher high and continues making higher highs, the euro pound's one you could hold on to potentially for months at a time. But that takes a lot of patience, and you got to deal with a lot of chop. But I'm thinking that the euro pound really looks ripe for a long-term movement, considering how much downward momentum there's been over the past few years and just how technically sound it's trading toward the upside right now. So this is one that we're long on the copier, up a little bit but not huge, and just looking to ride this out toward higher highs and really try to get as much profit out of this one as possible. So that's one that I'm continuing to look at, continuing to hope moves more. Hopefully it won't keep coming down and pulling these tests before it goes up, because that's very frustrating to hold on to a pair when it's doing that. But we'll keep an eye on this one. Hopefully we'll get seamless continuation, just momentum-filled moves to the upside, and be able to cash out well on that one. All right, so that's the last pair I'm going to cover, guys. I hope the analysis was helpful for you today. Be sure to like or tweet it or whatever social media you use. We appreciate when you guys do that, as it helps us get our stuff out to more people. So please do that, and I will talk to you soon.